Minister's innovation minister lied, and I quote, lied to the committee. Why is this minister and his boss, the Prime Minister, covering up this scandal and waste of Canadian tax dollars?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It's not surprising that the Conservative leader doesn't want to talk about his failed Republican-style plan to shut down Parliament last week. All his 30-hour temper tantrum achieved was to show Canadians the party's true colours and cost Canadians $2 million in wasteful spending. The Conservative Party tried to cut affordable childcare, cut construction of affordable housing, and defund the police and Canada's armed forces. While they want to bring us back to the Stone Age, we'll stay focused on Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canadians are forced to eat stone soup this winter after this Prime Minister gave us the worst food price inflation in 40 years, and we have 2 million Canadians, a record-smashing number, lined up at food banks. I know the Prime Minister is desperate to avoid defending his own track record, or worse yet, his quadrupling of the carbon tax. There is a common-sense Conservative bill, C-234, in the Senate up for the vote today. Will the Prime Minister stop blocking the bill, axe the tax so that our farmers can feed families?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party of Canada had the opportunity to support affordability measures for Canadians, but instead they chose to take 30 hours attacking the most vulnerable. During the Conservative leader's $2 million temper tantrum, they gladly stood against veterans experiencing homelessness, against emergency shelters for women and girls, against Indigenous housing, against rapid affordable housing construction. They even tried to prevent support for those who lost their homes in Hurricane Fiona. That leader is reckless and should be ashamed.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The truth is that the Prime Minister is not spending money on any of those things. He has a food program that doesn't feed kids, it feeds bureaucracies and creates frameworks that kids can't eat. He has a housing affordability program that doubles the cost of housing, a housing accelerator that hasn't built a single house, a carbon tax that hasn't reduced emissions. So instead of spending billions on programs that cause inflation and do nothing but sound pretty, why won't he axe the tax on our farmers so that they can feed Canadians this winter?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Whether the leader of the opposition makes a homemade video about it or not, a key factor contributing to food inflation around the world is Putin's illegal war in Ukraine. That party has been playing right into the Kremlin's hands by voting against Operation Unifier, by voting against funding for military aid to Ukraine, and by voting at every opportunity, including again this morning, against the Canada-U-Trade free trade agreement that Ukrainians have been asking for. We will never abandon Ukraine, unlike the Conservative leader who's shown Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister is desperate to distract from the misery that he caused here at home. I wonder if he could just for once think about Canadians instead of thinking about himself. We have 2 million Canadians lined up in food banks, a record-smashing number. He's doubled the cost of housing. He wants to quadruple the carbon tax. 9 in 10 young people say they'll never be able to afford a home. We understand with this miserable record, he doesn't want to talk about Canada or Canadians. He'd rather spread falsehood about faraway foreign lands, Mr. Speaker. Will he not stand up for once for Canada, axe the tax so our families can eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the Conservative leader's partisan vitriol and performance games are hurting Canadians. Let's talk about their record directly. When it came to 988, the suicide crisis helpline, how did they just vote? Against. When it came to the Lac-Mégantic rail bypass, how did they vote against? Against. When it came to the new Montreal Holocaust Museum on the first night of Hanukkah, how did they vote? Against. Mr. Speaker,
order. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. I sought to understand the government's new dental program. It's not an easy one. We have 3 types of dental programs. A private one for those who have money, the federal program, and then Quebec's program. But there is one single jurisdiction, and that is Quebec's jurisdiction over healthcare. It's easy to explain what is clear. The Liberal government is throwing sweets and candy to the NDP to try and keep its government alive. Can the Prime Minister explain to us at least his dental program once and for all and make it clear? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Well, it's rather bizarre, Mr. Speaker, because the leader of the Bloc Québécois is talking about sweets and candy, and we're trying to fight against that with a dental program. We have a plan that will help from coast to coast to coast, help families who cannot currently send their children to dentists. And next year we'll be here also for seniors with dental care. We'll be here for those under 18 who need dental care and who can't pay for it. And eventually we will cover absolutely every Canadian who cannot pay for their dental care, because we know that mouth health is general health, and we're here to help families. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. That's what we were being told when we were in grade 8. About dental plans, but I understand that this is a difficult to explain program. A program was announced. The program was poorly drafted. Now, this is surprising from the NDP. It's a program that is great for the private sector. It also harms Quebec, which is of no surprise to anyone. When the Prime Minister authorized the dental program, did he keep in mind the health of Canadians or the financial health of his alliance with the NDP? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we recognise that far too many Canadians do not currently have access to dental care. We are a government that has always been here to invest in Canadians in order to help them socially and economically, and we know that many families can't pay for dental care, and so they don't use dental care because they can't afford it. Now we're making sure that Canadians won't have to choose between dental care and groceries, for example, because we will be here to help them. That is something that counts for all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we will be here for them, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, to date, 20,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed in Gaza, half of whom are women and children. Despite this, the Liberals and the Conservatives refuse to demand a ceasefire. It's revolting. It's inhuman. The NDP continues to ask for a ceasefire and has done so for the past 2 months. Today, there's an important vote in the United Nations. We know that the Liberals have refused to listen to the families of those who have lost their family members, but perhaps they'll listen to their donors who are now abandoning them finally. At the United Nations today, Canada will vote for a ceasefire, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. For the past 9 weeks, Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada has had a responsible position that defends civilians, that seeks to establish a two-state solution with Israelis and Palestinians so that they can work and live safely in recognized countries. We will do everything in our power to continue to make sure that Canadians agree with one another, see eye to eye so we don't see hatred, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. This government will continue to be here for everyone.
The honourable member from Edmonton Strathcona.
The Liberal position is appalling, not responsible. For 2 months, this government has sat and watched while 18,000 2,000 innocent civilians have lost their lives and have refused to call for a ceasefire. We need a ceasefire. We need the hostages removed. Last week, it was reported that Liberal donors were withholding support because of the moral failure of the Liberals. Today, there is an important vote at the United Nations. The Liberals have failed to listen to the Palestinian people and to Canadian Palestinians. Will they at least listen to their fundraisers and vote for a ceasefire today?
Ceasefire!
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.